Greetings, it's Mia. So I'm outside. I'm in the park with my feet on the soil. So if you hear any sounds, please forgive me. I'm going to try to enhance the recording as best of my abilities without um, chopping up the words that I speak because sometimes when I try to enhance, that's the issue I face. Nevertheless, let's move on and let's go ahead and talk about the symbolism today, which will actually be about the lemur. The lemur is actually indigenous to Madagascar and has a very intense look. There's over 100 species of lemurs, and if you just type in the word lemur itself, you'll almost always see a depiction of the most popular one, which is actually a black and white lemur that has a black and white striped tail that kind of looks like a cat's tail, which is interesting. And they have these very intense yellow eyes with this dot in the center. The lemur is in, like I said, natural habitat is in Madagascar. And interestingly enough, the constellations that hover over that area would be, and I'm sorry, Scorpio and the star Antares, which is the red star in Scorpio's constellation. Antares is a Greek word that actually means rival of Mars. And which is very interesting because Scorpio's traditional ruler is Mars, and Antares actually sits within that constellation, hovering over the habitat of most lemurs, including the Milky Way, which creates a spiral and is 13.6 billion years old, said to be, which is very interesting because 13 is actually the number that is ruled over death and tarot, and is associated with scorpionic type energy. When we look at lemur and the symbolism, it represents curiosity, playfulness, adaptability, intuition, psychic abilities, and connection to the spirit world. Lemurs is actually a word that is Latin and means lemurs, which actually direct translation means evil spirits or malevolent spirits. Not to be scared of. Do not be afraid. Evil spirits is not always bad. There's always duality to everything. And the thing about the lemur is it's a nocturnal animal that travels most of the time at night and hides in the trees, or not lives in the trees, I should say, not hides, but it is an animal that is considered hidden because I'm sure there's people that actually have never heard of the lemur and are not aware. Some of them think that it's actually extinct. I actually learned today and had never seen it before, but they're not extinct. They're endangered, however, but they're very, very special and they're very fearless and they're very playful and they actually use their noses and their vocalization to communicate. So they rely purely on their senses, which gives them this energy of like the psychic world and the underworld, because a lot of things that are hidden now today that is considered mysticism or not real, when people actually navigate life through senses and symbolism, are considered evil or negative or not real at all. So they represent the hidden realm is what is not seen. When we look at Scorpio, and we look at that area and the fact that Scorpio is the hovering constellation over that area, there's a popular tree called Baobab, and I hope I'm pronouncing that right. It's Baobab, and it's a tree that is good for balancing blood sugar, good digestion, absorption, improved stamina, etc. However, the tree is very adaptable, just like the lemur, and can regenerate itself and its environments, which we know that Scorpio is a house or a mansion in the sky that rules over regeneration, that rules over death and rebirth, and the genitals. And the genitals is the area where things become alchemized, where you pee, where you release fecal matter, and those things become alchemized because they did not look like that when they got in your system. So regeneration is, you know, a shining award that you will see when it comes to the genitals, especially people that do hydrotherapy, which is actually consuming their own pee. I wish I knew a better word. There's a medical word, but I can't think of it right now. So for lack of a better word, because there's nutrients in that, because the kidneys are a natural filter and purify the things that we put in our body, even if it is acidic in nature, like alcohol and things like that. So another thing that was interesting about um, the lemurs and the baobab trees. When I looked at the Scorpio constellation, it's associated with the goddess from Kemet, miscalled today Egypt, and the goddess's name is Solket. Solket is a scorpion goddess that protected Isis and Horus, especially after Horus was poisoned with a snake. She was able to heal him, I believe, because she actually rules over venomous snakes and scorpions. And it was said that if you were protected by her, that you would never be bitten by a venomous snake or a scorpion under her protection. She is a goddess considered protected. She has wings and she has a scorpion over her head. And this is representative of the underworld, which also represents physical death or, death of a certain way of being, of a way of existing. When we change different versions of ourselves, we die. And sometimes, even when we go through traumas and we're healing from them traumas, becoming different people and evolving past these triggers, the goddess, you are protected from certain energies. You yourself are protected because you're aware of certain things, because the poison has now become the medicine to heal you and make you into a different person that's better than the one that you were before. So there is definitely an alchemy aspect to this goddess and an alchemy to trauma when we actually heal from that trauma, and that very poison becomes the medicine that makes us into something better and brand new. So another thing about Soulcat is she watched over the dead, literally people that were mummified in Kemet, which we already just said that is today called Egypt. There were canopics, which is a relic or motif where it has 4 heads. Each head reserves a god, God being the organs in your body, like your liver, your intestines and things of that nature, your lungs. So these, she protected over these canopics, in ancient Kemet to preserve the gods while they traveled into the afterlife. So she's big on protecting dead, even if your physical avatar is no longer here on earth. She protects you through the journey into the next life, including, in phases of death when you are changing and an old self is dying and a new self is being regenerated from that old self. So this is very deep, and that's why the lemur is considered, to be a symbol of not only transformation, but playfulness, because also teaching you how to be more adaptable, how to not take life so seriously, how to be more playful. And it's really hard to become like that. That is in itself a spiritual awakening to understand that life is meant to be taken easy and not taken heavy, regardless of the heaviness that we experience. So that's why it's big on adaptability, very similar to being like bamboo, being able to bend and not being rigid, because when you're rigid, you will break. So very deep symbolism. I'm trying to see if there's anything else that we need to go over before I go. Nope. I think that pretty much covers it. I will say looking at the etymology of soulcat was very interesting because I didn't expect it to come up, but what did come up is the word secret. And secret and occult is the same word, and Scorpio rules over the occult, the unseen, the hidden, which the hidden is usually in plain sight. So that pretty much wraps up the lemur. I hope that you gathered that this is a very mystical animal, and that if you do run into this animal, not only does it represent playfulness and adaptability, it represents somebody that is on a spiritual journey, a spiritual awakening to see things that they may have not noticed before. from a different perspective, a different view, and to be regenerated and reborn anew. Much love, much peace, much fulfillment, and thank you for listening. Bum, 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 bum. Peace.